Okay, this is for geometry for Mr. Heron. This is kind of just walking you through your notes so you know what you're doing. When you talk about points, lines, and planes, you're talking about the basic building blocks of geometry. And kind of what that means is that everything is built from these three kind of ideas. So a point is nothing more than a location in space. Alright, so a point is just named by one letter, okay? So that's all you're looking at, just one letter. So a quick example, if I've got letter P, letter F, letter H, letter S, just to finish that out, of course, yes, they are all points. A line is made up of a whole bunch of points, but there is no thickness or width. Through any 2 points, there is exactly one line. That means there can't be two, there can't be none. Through any 2 points, there is exactly one line. Alright, so we call that A, call that B. That would be named line AB. So it's usually named by 2 letters. Occasionally, it will be named by 1 letter depending on how it's labeled. Okay, just every once in a while, you might see one that gets labeled like this, to where there's a line, but then there's just an H next to it or something like that, and they'll just say line H. So that would be a line. Now a plane is not something you see at the airport. The plane looks kind of like this. It's a two-dimensional flat surface that goes off in every direction forever, and it's named by one of 2 ways. Either 3 points not on the same line, okay, so it can't be on the same line, or it's usually named by 1 point or by 1 letter in the corner. Alright, so if I said like letter B down here in the corner, you notice I'm not labeling a point or a line or anything. This would be called plane B. Or if I said those 2 are linear, but this third one is not, we called it X, Y, Z. So I would be called plane X, Y, Z. So all that would be another way to say it. So it kind of brings up 2 more terms. Term collinear and coplanar, and kind of what that looks like. So collinear is almost exactly what it sounds like. All that means is that it is on the same line. Okay, so quick and easy. A and B are collinear, C is not. Alright, A and B are collinear, C is not. Coplanar is kind of the same idea, except instead of a line, you're dealing with a plane. So you're on the same plane. Okay, so if you look back up here, X, Y, and Z would all be considered coplanar. Okay, so if I had something like this, just draw a small plane. A and B are coplanar. D out here is non-coplanar. So that's kind of the situation that you're looking at, okay? So we've got collinear, coplanar. We've also got non-collinear and non-coplanar. And that's exactly what you might think it is. All that means is that they are not on the same plane or not on the same line. That's all that means. So let's talk about what happens when you do cross each other. So 2 lines that intersect form what is called a point. If you look carefully, you can see 2 lines intersect. They make a point when that happens. 2 planes that intersect, you got that situation right here. What happens there? All that happens is that you create a line. So that's kind of how that situation goes. So a generic term modeled by each, name the geometric term. So a floor, that's kind of like a plane. A push pin would be like a point. And a cell phone tower, well, that would be kind of like a line. So to finish up page 2, so if you're looking at this situation here. You've got a plane. The name of the plane can be named by B, or it can be named by any three non-collinear letters. Okay, so if I've got a line containing point K, that's right here. Well, I can name that line A, or I can name that line JK. Haha, just kidding. I can name it JL. I can name it KL. I can name it all these different ways. So if I'm looking at a plane containing point L, this entire plane all contains L. So how do I name it? Well, I can name it plane B, or I can name it JKM, or any three letters that are non-collinear. So the only thing that doesn't work would be if I tried to say plane JKL. Well, if I put JKL, I don't know if you're talking about the plane or the line. So you can't say it that way. All right, that doesn't work. But what I can do, slow down for here, name three collinear points. Well, if you look, the dotted means that the line keeps going. So if I've got A, B, and D, that's my three collinear points, A, B, and D. So our points A, B, C, and D coplanar, not currently. Not, you could draw one, that would technically work, but no, they would not be coplanar. All right, so identify the planes in this picture. Well, so identify the planes in the picture. So you've got plane K, or you've got plane, ABG. There's a whole bunch of different planes that are there. So, but plane K is probably the one that's the most generic. So what happens when BD intersects with AC? What is that? That would be considered a point. K, this plane K, and line AD, that's going to be considered a point. But if I look at K and M, well, M is this line, but this line is on the plane. So what is that intersection? That intersection is actually going to be the whole line. So if we're trying to draw this, kind of draw the situation here, draw a line and intersects plane P at point I. So it intersects plane P, but it's not on plane P. So what that would look like is this. So you've got a plane, and we're just going to call it P. We'll put a P down in the corner. Then you've got a line that runs straight through it, comes out the bottom. We're calling that line N, and it intersects at point I. So that's going to be right there. That's where I'm looking at. All right, so the next one, lines B and Y are coplanar in plane Q but do not intersect. Line X intersects line B and point C, and line Y at point D. So if I'm going to draw a plane, call it Q, I have lines B or Y lines B and Y do not intersect. So line X intersects here. So it intersects at point C and here at point D. So that's kind of that situation there. And last but not least, R and A intersect at XY. That is two planes. So once again, we can draw one plane. We can draw two planes. They're just going to intersect right here. So that's going to be XY right there. All right, that concludes the notes. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me.